Why did we change the sign when moving a number? If you can answer that, you are memorizing, not learning. Let's change that right now. Math isn't about numbers, it's about mastering the rules of a game. Just like you can't play chess without knowing how the knight moves, you can't master math without its fundamental rules. We call these axioms. Think of an axiom as a starting line. You don't prove it, you just accept it so the game can begin. In chess we agree the knight moves in an L. In math, axioms are the logical ground we build everything else upon. 2000 years ago, Euclid gave us the equality bridge. It's simple. If A equals C and B also equals C, then A and B must be equal. It's the invisible pillar holding all of mathematics together. Then there is the balance rule. Imagine a scale in perfect equilibrium. If you add or subtract the exact same amount from both sides, it stays balanced. This isn't just a rule, it's the engine behind every equation you've ever solved. You've been told to move it to the other side and change the sign. That's not magic, it's the balance rule in disguise. Look, 4x plus 3 equals 11. We don't just move the 3, we subtract the 3 from both sides. Then we divide both sides by 4. Result, x equals 2. No shortcuts, just logic. When you stop memorizing and start understanding the rules, you finally get the freedom to play the game. Have you ever solved a math problem by just guessing, and then tweaking that guess until it finally fit? Today that feels like cheating, but for thousands of years, that was the gold standard. Long before we had x or equal signs, Egyptian scribes used a method called the rule of false position. It was systematic guessing and correction. It got the job done, but it was a long detour to a short destination. Let's try one. Find a number that, when added to 1/3 of itself, equals 8. The ancient way? Just guess. Let's pick 3. 1/3 of 3 is 1, and 3 plus 1 equals 4. Wait, 4 is exactly half of 8. So, if our result was half the target, our guess must be half the answer. Double it. 3 times 2 is 6. Check it. 6 plus 2 equals 8. It works. Now, look at the modern way. We don't guess, we isolate. X plus x over 3 equals 8. Multiply everything by 3 to clear the fraction. 3x plus x equals 24. 4x equals 24. X equals 6. One clear logical line. No trial and error required. Think it's a fluke? Try. X plus 3x equals 24. If you guess 2, you get 8. Since 8 goes into 24 3 times, you triple your guess to get 6. It's clever, sure, but as the problems get harder, the guessing gets clunkier. Algebra stays slim. This shift from guessing to algebra gave us certainty. We stopped looking for an answer and started proving the answer. That reliability is what allowed us to scale from simple trade to building skyscrapers, coding algorithms, and launching rockets. What if I told you that the secret to understanding fraction is actually pizza? Stay with me, I will show you why. A fraction is just a way to show a part of a whole. It tells us how many pieces we have, out of how many equal pieces the whole was split into. We write it with 2 numbers. The top one is the denominator. It counts how many pieces you have. The bottom is the denominator. It names how many pieces make the full pizza. Now look at this. If you eat half a pizza, it's the same amount as eating 4 small squares of an 8-piece chocolate bar. Even though the numbers are different, the amount is the same. In math we call these equivalent fractions. Stop adding the top and bottom numbers. If you do that 4, you get which simplifies right back to. but half a pizza plus another half should be a whole pizza, not just another half. Let me show you how to fix this for good. Most people try to solve it like this. It looks right, but look at the logic. If you join two halves, you have one whole. You don't just have two smaller slices from a 4-slice pizza. The easy way is actually the wrong way. Here's the rule. The denominator is the slice size. You can add apples and oranges unless you call them both fruit. In math, you can add slices unless they are the same size. If the denominators don't match, we have to resize them first. The least common multiple, LCM, of 2 and 3 is 6. We want everything in 60s. Multiply 1 over 2 by 3 over 3 and 2 over 3 by 2 over 2. Multiplying by x over x is just multiplying by 1. The value stays the same, it just looks different. Now we have 3 over 6 plus 4 over 6. Add the tops, keep the bottom. Multiplying fraction is the most straightforward rule in math. It's top times top and bottom times bottom. Numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. But wait, why multiplying 2 over 3 and 3 over 4 just to simplify later? If you see a 3 on top and a 3 on the bottom, divide them right now. This keeps the number small and saves you from doing extra work. Always cancel before you multiply. Dividing fraction is just multiplication in disguise. So why do we flip the fraction when dividing? Think about it this way. You have 2 pizzas and you want to cut them into 1 over 4 slices. The question is, how many quarters are cut in 2 wholes? 2 divided by 1 over 4. 2 times 4 equals 8. The logic is simple. If each pizza has 4 slices, then 2 pizzas will have 8 slices total. Flipping the second fraction, the reciprocal, is just a mathematical shortcut to turn the division into a multiplication that makes sense in the real world. What if letters show up? Don't panic. The rules stay the same. Treat them like numbers, but with one major warning. Only cancel factors, never terms. You cannot cancel the x in x plus 1 over x minus 1. If there is a plus or minus sign gluing the numbers together, you can't touch them. Respect the addition. Example question. Who actually has the best performance? We're going to find out which athlete has the best success rate at blocking shots. Instead of dealing with messy divisions, we are going to compare the ratios using a much simpler method. First, let's rule out the obvious choices. Athlete 1, 20 successful blocks out of 20 attempts. Athlete 2, fewer blocks than Athlete 1, but with more attempts. Athlete 3, same situation, more attempts but fewer blocks. Clear, Athlete 1 is outperforming Athletes 2 and 3. Easy start. Round 2, Athlete 1 versus Athlete 4. To compare them fairly, we need to put them on same scale. Let's find a common ground of 120 attempts. Athlete 1, 20 out of 13 is the same as 80 out of 120. Athlete 4, 3 out of 4 is the same as 90 out of 120. So even though Athlete 4 has a smaller sample size, they are actually more efficient than Athlete 1. Athlete 4 takes the lead. The final showdown. Athlete 4 versus Athlete 5. Let's imagine both athletes faces the exact same number of shots. 4 attempts each. Athlete 4 at the rate of 3 out of 4, they would score 30 blocks in 40 tries. Athlete 5, 8 out of 10. At this rate, they would score 32 blocks in 40 tries. And that means the winner is Athlete 5. With the highest success rate, Athlete 5 is officially the most efficient player on the court. If you need a game changer, this is who you sub in. Whenever you need to compare fractions or performance rates, just multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. This levels the playing field, allowing you to compare values instantly. No calculator required. Many people learn cross multiplication as if it's a magic trick. but it's actually based on one simple rule. In math, the golden rule is, whatever you do to one side of an equation, you must also do to the other side. Let's look at this equation, x over 4 equals 3 over 2. Our goal is to solve for x, but right now, x is stuck in a fraction, so let's get rid of the denominators. Multiply both sides by 4. 4 times x over 4 equals 4 times 3 over 2. The 4 in the denominator cancels out, so we get x equals 3 times 4 over 2. Now multiply both sides by 2. 2 times x equals 2 times 3 times 4 over 2. The 2 cancels out, leaving 2x equals 3 times 4. So we get 2x equals 12, x equals 6. Instead of using a mysterious trick, all we did was multiply both sides to clear the denominators. If you look at it, that's exactly what cross multiplication shows in one single step. 2x equals 3 times 4. Cross multiplication is not a hack, it's just a shortcut for the rule of keeping equations balanced. Once you understand that, math stops being memorizing tricks and starts actually making sense. Faucet A fills a tank in 6 hours. Faucet B takes 8. If you turn them both on, how long till it's full? If you talk 7 hours, stick around. I'm going to show you the fastest way to solve this. This is a classic rich problem, simple numbers, but a great way to train your brain. Let's dive in. Let's pick a thing side that makes the math disappear. Choose a number that both 6 and 8 divide into perfectly. Let's go with 24 gallons. Why? Because it's keep your numbers whole and easy. Now find the flow rate. If Faucet A fills 24 gallons in 6 hours, it's pumping 4 gallons every hour. Faucet B takes 80 hours, so its rate is 3 gallons per hour. When they work together, their power adds up. 4 plus 3 means they're filling 7 gallons every single hour. To get the total time, just divide the tank by the combined rate. 24 divided by 7. That gives us approximately 3.43 hours. In real world time, that's about 3 hours, 25 minutes, and 43 seconds. Always do a sanity check. Since 2 faucets are better than 1, the answer must be faster than the quickest faucet. 3.4 hours is less than 6, so we know we are on the right track. Prefer fractions? Use the reciprocal method. 1 over 6 plus 1 over 8. Common denominator is 24, so you get 4 over 24 plus 3 over 24 equals 7 over 24. Flip it to find the time. 24 over 7. Same result, different path.